Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
One of the most successful leaders I know told me meetings are where I make my money. And I thought it was so fascinating, the conversation we had. We're talking about meetings here on the Lead Everyday show this week, and I'm glad you've joined us. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, I can't wait to dive into meetings. I think meetings have such a bad rap in the world.
They've earned it.
They have earned it.
They've
There's
earned
a
it.
lot of bad meetings going on. They really have earned it. But the truth is, meetings can be one of the most life-giving things in an organization, and they certainly are one of the team basics that we've been talking about here. We're going to dive into it. We're going to spend a few days on this because I don't know about you, but nobody ever taught me how to lead a meeting. I just end up going to all these meetings. Next thing you know, I'm leading all these meetings, and you're sort of making it up as you go if you've not really thought through some of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm excited to dive into meetings.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've been in some bad meetings too in your day.
I have. But I want to pick up on what you said about them being life-giving. Certainly they can be, but they can be performance enhancing.
Yeah.
And again, that's not the norm. But one more thing they can be is a great diagnostic. If you want to know if a teacher can teach, go to the classroom. Mm-hmm. If you want to know if a leader can lead, go to their meetings.
Yeah.
And there is huge untapped potential.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I think there's several things that, again, we're going to talk about the next few days. I'm so fired up to get into this, but I think one of the things that happens is we don't get the right people in the room. It is so important for us. If you're going to start anywhere, it's make sure you get the right people at the table. And so many times we really don't. We have the people that we think are supposed to be at the table because of their title, their performance, or not their performance, their job description. You know, we've been talking about clarity and some of that kind of stuff. We have a team of people. We think that's who comes. You have permission to have other people at the table, and let's dive into that part a little bit.
Well, I want to pull back half a step. Yes, I think that is one of those early critical questions that leaders aren't giving enough thought to. But if you pull up just a little bit, how good do you want your meetings to be? Yeah. I think if you can get a compelling vision for your meetings, you may have thought about vision for your team or vision for your organization. Most leaders have never thought about the vision for their meetings. How good do you want them to be? And once you set the bar and you set it really high, then all of the questions we're going to answer over the balance of this week make perfect sense because you know what you're trying to accomplish. I'll tell a quick story. Years ago, I was leading a group of volunteers, and I called a meeting. And in that first meeting, I challenged them with my vision. I wanted our monthly meetings to be the highlight of their month. And these people looked at me like I had three heads. And the skepticism was well earned because they've been in crappy meetings their whole life, right? They're going, you want this to be what? I said, yeah. I said, I want it to be a place where we're encouraged, where we're challenged, where we're equipped, where we do life together. I mean, I gave them about 8 or 10 or 12 attributes. And I said, it's going to be soul enriching, life enhancing, and we're going to perform at a higher level because of these meetings. Again, they gave me a little bit of pushback, but they said, okay, we'll come back. And then I worked to make those meetings the highlight of their month. Now, did we get there? You could debate that, but I knew we were making progress when a member of the team, the volunteer group, said they had rearranged their family vacation so they wouldn't have to miss one of our monthly meetings.
Yeah.
How good do you want them to be?
Yeah, that's so good.
And then questions like, who should you have in the room? Yeah. Well, of course you're going to think about that.
Yeah.
If you want to create these amazing meetings.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And we said they can be life-giving, but meetings can be so draining as well. I mean,
they can be.
So many people I know, they hate meetings, and I think it's because of some of these, again, the things we're going to talk about these next few days. Let's start there with this idea of who needs to be in the room. When you think about who needs to be in the room, I love to go back to what are we trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. And if I've got a problem, I've got a big issue that we're trying to solve, I don't want to be afraid to invite somebody who this might be affecting. Like you may have a customer that you
Right.
need to
Right.
get some feedback. We do this all the time. Like who's it for? Not what are we trying to do, but like who are we
Right.
trying to help here? And you might want to get some of the people that you're trying to help, let them weigh in on stuff. You've got a frontline employee, let's say, that is going to be affected by stuff. I've heard you say for years, the person closest to the problem is typically closest to the solution. And yet we're in a room making a decision that's affecting
Right.
people that we don't even know what the effect is so many
Yeah.
times. And so there's
Yeah.
lots of ways to think about this
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
people,
Let me
get
pick
the
up-
right people at the table.
Let me pick up on something you just said. You referenced we're making a decision. I've been in rooms when there was no decision maker.
Yeah.
And so you'll discuss and you'll talk and debate, and it's like, who's going to make the decision? Well, none of us can make that decision. So back to the question you open with, who should be around the table? If you're going to try to make a decision in the room, maybe you need to invite a decision maker.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a blinding flash of the obvious, but if you're not thinking about it, you could miss that.
Yeah.
Let me add one more, and again, it's a half a step beyond what you just said. Yeah, you might invite frontline workers, or you might invite customers. You might invite subject matter experts based on the topic. If you're talking about potentially building a new building, you may want to bring in an architect or an engineer, people who don't normally sit around your table.
Yeah, I want you to tell a story. Years ago, remember when you built a home? This was a crazy story, but you had a meeting.
I did.
You called a meeting. Tell that story, because I thought that was great. I'd never heard anybody think about it this way, which is mind blowing when you.
Yeah.
Tell
So
the
this would
story.
be a tip for any of you who are planning to build a home. So we called a meeting and we said, I want the architect there. I want the interior design person there. I want the builder there and the associate builder. Those were the 4 critical players. And I asked them to come and be prepared to talk about some of the favorite work they'd ever done in their life. And they were like freaking out. And they told about some of their favorite projects. And it was an attempt for them to get to know each other. And I cast the vision for them that I wanted them to work together.
Yeah.
I said, if there's a question and you need to call the builder, call the builder. If there's a question you need to call the interior people, you call the interior people. It's like, you guys are going to do this.
Yeah.
And they each one told me separately that was an amazing meeting, that it was really weird, and they'd never done anything like that before.
Yeah, can you imagine having people trying to build a home and you never get the people that are building the home
Well,
together
here's
to talk
what I
to each
think-
other?
here's what I think
and they're
happens.
literally saying we've never done that before.
Well, here's what I think happened. Well, based on my experience, this was the second home we'd ever built.
Yeah.
The first home, I didn't do that. And I was the guy in the middle. And everybody called me, and I was trying to make a lot of decisions and connect a lot of dots that I didn't have the skill set. But when you get an architect talking to a builder, they speak the language, and it makes more sense. And they actually worked together to solve the problems of building the home. So, yeah. Get the right people in the room.
Yeah. So one of the people, let me just give us one more tactical thing to talk about today is one of the people that definitely needs to be at the meeting, if you ask me, is the facilitator. The facilitator is the person who removes barriers for what needs to happen. And there's a couple of ways to think about this. There's some pre-work that needs to happen. Like, do we need markers, and do we need a projector, and do we need
it'd be a barrier if you didn't have those
It'd be a barrier if you didn't. And how many meetings have I been to where where's the flip chart, or where's that? And we're 10 minutes into the meeting, we can't even find it because nobody owned it before and had us ready. But then we have these opportunities for the facilitator in the meeting to remove barriers as well. I notice, if I'm the facilitator, I notice Mark hadn't said anything in the whole meeting. Hey, Mark, tell us what you think about this, because Randy's been over here talking the whole time. And so there's lots of ways to think about these barriers. Can you talk about a little bit the power of having the right facilitator in a meeting?
You covered it so well. They anticipate, remove barriers before the meeting, before they ever exist, and then they remove barriers during the meeting. And you gave one example. Another example is if Randy's talking too much, you say, Randy, hold on, let's hear from Charlie, let's hear from Stuart. Or if somebody gets maybe a little bit too amped up, you can say, hold on, like try that again, try to pull the emotion out of it.
Right.
Or you can ask somebody to restate what they think they just heard because you don't think they're listening. Yeah. So you're saying, what are the barriers that we can actually eliminate? Yeah. And there are any number that you could put on a list.
Yeah.
You got to have a facilitator. That's another one of those team basics.
So when you think about your meetings right now, you're listening and you're going, okay, our meetings have not been what they need to be. The first thing I would encourage you to do is come back tomorrow, because we're going to continue this conversation as we go. But today, do you have the right people in the room? Do you have a facilitator that is skilled and designated to lead the meeting, to remove the barriers before and during the meeting? Do you have the right people at the right levels of your organization? Do you have a need for a subject matter expert? All that stuff we talked about. I want to encourage you to do a deep dive evaluation on your meetings this week. Your meetings really can be life-giving. They can be where you make your money, where you make your impact, whatever it is you're trying to make. That your meetings are maybe your most effective and biggest opportunity, most effective place you can do that. I want to encourage you to lead great meetings. Your organization, whatever it is you got going on, it is too important for you to waste time to suck the life out of people having bad meetings. Meetings can be great if we choose to lead them well. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.